missed my boat here that was supposed to arrive at 6:30, all because a friend of mine never told me which port I'm supposed to go to. Luckily for me, the managers told me I can take a sightseeing boat for 30% off discount price one way to Westminster. So that was quite a relief that I didn't waste a trip from southeast London all the way for nothing. So now I'm on the boat, making the most of a trip, even though I couldn't meet up with my friend, but life's too short not to spend £7 to see the view of London that I have not seen since the 20 months that I've been here for. So this is the River Thames.
Hello everyone. Hello. Welcome aboard. Good evening to you all. We're on the Millennium City, heading up to Westminster. We're leaving behind you a lovely picture of Tower Bridge. If you are down below, the open top deck is the place to be. You see a lot more, you get much better pictures being up on the top deck. Now saying that, it's late in the day. I know most people have already had a boat ride. They come down the river from Westminster. Most people are now just returning back to Westminster. However, there was a few people asking for a live commentary on the boats, as they did not get one earlier. All they had was the audio guide. I will try my best to mention the buildings and the bridges. I will warn you, I'm not a tour guide. I may get some things wrong along the way. I may stumble here and there. We're not actors, right? We're not comedians. We're not doing all that stand-up business. We're just here, right? We're employed by City Cruises because we have a license to basically drive boats carrying third-hand passengers. I've worked on this river since I was 17 years old, and for a few of those years I've worked on these sightseeing boats. I've got to learn buildings, the bridges, the points of interest, and hopefully what I tell you makes it go a little bit more enjoyable. All those in favour of me doing a live commentary say, hey! We'll start with the warship in the river to your left. It's been here for about 50 years. Part of the Imperial War Museum. She is named the HMS Belfast. That's where she was built. Belfast, Northern Ireland, at the Harland and Wolff shipyard. That's also where they built the Titanic. She is flying a Union Jack. That flag, it's being flown from a jackstaff. You take that flag down, you see that flag anywhere else, it's only a Union flag. That is the only proper Union Jack you'll see in London. It must be flown from a Royal Naval vessel. Over to the right, we have a tall building. It gets wider as it goes up. Many people, they call it the walkie-talkie, because that's what it looks like. To them, to me, it looks like a pint of beer, so I call it the pints. Near the top, a free observation deck. You don't get much for free in London. You can go to the top of that building and you do not pay a single penny. Nobody does. The Sky Garden. Look yourself in. Go on the internet, search Sky Garden London and get up there for free. A bit closer, the yellow building. Staying to your right, the old Billingsgate fish markets. For almost 900 years, fish was sold on this side of land. A few decades ago, the market had to be moved further down the river, down to the docklands of London, Canary Wharf, where it's a much bigger fish market today. The only fish here are on the roof, acting as the weather lanes. Stay to the right, and between these two boring office buildings, a church designed by Sir Christopher Wren, called Magnus the Martyr. It is one of 51 churches Wren built in the capital city of London after the Great Fire, which destroyed almost the entire city in 1666. And there you have the monument to the Great Fire of London. It was built to look like a candle. A candle fell over in a royal baker's shop. It was the royal bakers, that's where the fire began. When a candle fell over, that's what they say, and destroyed almost the entire city. If that candle was to fall over, that 202-foot candle, in a westerly direction, the same way we are heading, the flame on top would land on the site and where the baker shop stood and where the fire began. So quite poetic monument. London Bridge to your right, there is the name, not mistaken here, London Bridge. There have been many bridges to span this part of the river. There's always been a crossing here since the Roman times, 2,000 years ago. They named the area to the right Londinium. And I think that means roughly settlement close to the water. That's where we get London from. So for 2 millennia, we have had a river crossing. The newest London Bridge, right here, built in 1973. The old one was sinking into the mud. Does anyone know where the old London Bridge is? You should do if you've been on a boat today. Arizona, I think someone said there. Correct. Lake Havasu City in Arizona. See the ground to your left. If you was out on the river earlier today, you wouldn't have seen the foreshore. You wouldn't have seen much of the river's wall. You can see where the high tide was earlier today. Around 1 o'clock this afternoon, it was high tide here in London. The North Sea is behind you, about 40 miles down the river to the sea. Years ago, ships came up from the sea from all over the world, here into London, and they would unload their goods into the warehouses. Warehouses are still on your left, look, the old buildings there. That's what the river used to look like. Yeah, those old buildings built right along the Thames. No footpath, so when the ships came in, the boats, they could get right alongside. When the tide was high enough, when the river was deep enough, they could get alongside the buildings and unload. You can see the barge to the right. That's grounded. That will float again near high tide. This barge here at Walbrook Wharf, that is the last working wharf in the City of London. And at high tide, so that will float, and we take away London's rubbish using this barge, along with many, many others. So every day, thousands and thousands of tons of rubbish, as you can imagine. It's taken out of London, and it's all taken down the river, down to a place called Essex, used to reclaim land down in Essex. I know people do that, but it's not funny, it's just where we send the rubbish, that's all. Down in Essex. So we've got a few of these people, look on the right, look, mudlarks. You don't need a licence to do what they're doing. You don't need a licence to do what they're doing. If you want to start digging, then you do need a licence. You can get into big trouble if you start digging holes along the foreshore. But if you want to go and kick over a few loose stones, you never know, you might get lucky, find an old Edwardian, Victorian coin, maybe even a Roman coin, if you're really, really lucky. So people are here every day, mudlarks, looking for stuff. Nothing better to do. Over on your left, the little white building with a timber frame and a thatched roof, Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Every day, go here to watch a play, a live performance. And for 2 of you, it can cost as little as around £10. And for £10 for live entertainment in London, that is very, very cheap. And how's the comedy going? Do you like this live entertainment so far? Not really? Yeah? Thanks. I'm trying to speak nice and clearly and slowly. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't usually talk this slowly. But if I talk slow, more people seem to understand. Hopefully it's working. This bridge, the Blade of Lights. London's newest bridge in over 100 years. The last bridge to be built was Tower Bridge in 1894. You may know that bridge from Harry Potter. A lot of the kids, they shout out Harry Potter when they see that bridge. The boy that played Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, he went to school here. You can see the crest either end, the City of London School. Behind the school, we always mention St. Paul's Cathedral. That took 35 years to build. Sir Christopher Wren's masterpiece. He is buried inside St. Paul's. Also, we have buried the Duke of Wellington, Lord Horatio Nelson, and the man who discovered penicillin, Alexander Fleming. Every day you can visit St. Paul's. You can even go to the very top, climb the stairs, over 500 of them, and you get a lovely view all over London. It'll cost about £20 to enter St. Paul's. Unless you go on a Sunday, today, early this morning, around 10 o'clock, it is free to enter St. Paul's. It being a church, so it is free for the Sunday service. When I say it's free, when you leave, there will be a man there standing, holding a metal, silver, champagne tin buckets. And I do encourage you to drop a small donation into their buckets. And they prefer a silent donation by all accounts, so they don't like coins being thrown in. It makes too much money, you draw too much attention. So like the 5, 10, £20 notes going in. We have here the Blackfriars Bridges, built during the reign of Queen Victoria. There was once a monastery to the right, the Blackfriars Monastery. And in 1982, it's where they found Roberto Calvi, known as God's baker, yeah? The baker for the Vatican in Italy. So he done something bad. Apparently he tried to run away with some money, embezzle some money. They caught him and he was found dead, hanging from the Blackfriars Bridge, 1982. A nice picture behind you of some pools again. Lovely views above Blackfriars Bridge. Next on the right, the red church-like building. There is Zion College. It's a school for the Anglican clergy. They now use many rare, very priceless books in there, very expensive books in there, including Queen Victoria's first Bible, the first ever Bible to be printed into English on the famous William Pepsin press. Some very rare, expensive books are held inside that building. This here is a coffer dam, a temporary dam built while they're working underneath us. They are using a massive machine to dig a tunnel under the Thames going out to the sea, building a new sewer system. The old Victorian sewage system, built by Sir Joseph Bazalgette, who was a bit of an unsung hero. I like to mention him, Bazalgette, because no one ever does. He is the man responsible for cleaning up London. In the year 1858, we had the Great Stink. You can look this up, it was called the Great Stink. At that point in London's history, this river was London's sewer. Yeah? All the industries threw all their waste into the river. All the toilets were pumped directly into the Thames right here. Everyone just used it as a dumping ground. No one cared about the environment back then. It looks dirty today because it's mud-based. It'll always be this colour. And believe me or not, probably won't, but it is one of the world's cleanest working rivers going through a city. It's a very clean river. It's only the mud that gives it its murky appearance. Now, even up to the 1950s, this river was biologically dead. So much pollution, nothing could survive, no fish. At last count, it was up to 125 different species of marine life. Only this morning, we did spot a seal in the Thames near Tower Bridge, hopping around. Look on the right, there's a measuring stick. a tidal gauge. You see the numbers at the top, 7, 8. At 7, you can see it matches up with a high tide mark along the embankment wall. As Bazalgette built a sewer system along the river, he narrowed the Thames. And as he narrowed the Thames, he gave us higher tides than before, and also a faster flowing river. Increased the rate of tide, the flow of the tide, which also helped carry the waste out of the sea. I say most of the work was done by building the sewer system. The lions' heads were placed there as a flood warning. Under each lamppost, green lions' heads biting onto rings. They're not there for decoration or for tying boats up to. They're for one reason, a flood warning system. In the olden days, if the water level got very high, went above the average high tide mark and started to cover the faces of those lions, we would issue a flood warning to tell everyone about the incoming flood. And that's where we get the old sayings, just short rhymes to help us all remember. When the lions start to drink, then London will soon start to sink. When the river has reached their mains, we'll all be going down the drains. And when the heads have become entirely ducked, well, that's when we are all well and truly underwater. Doesn't rhyme as well, does it? I'm just saying who's listening out there who can really understand me. So about 3 or 4 people. I made that joke up years ago. I didn't want to tell you. But you know what it is. The bridge here, Waterloo, named after the famous battle. It was being built during the Second World War. Our men, they had left the country, gone to fight for our king. The ladies of London, they completed the work. They finished building this bridge. Not only is it London's longest bridge, very big, very wide, it's one of the very few bridges ever to be built on time and under budget. And a big well done to the ladies. They know how to get stuff done. On the right, the Savoy Palace Hotel, flying a single Union flag. Very expensive place to stay. Several £1,000s for a one-night stay for the Savoy. Next to it, Showmex House. It has the biggest clock in the country. See that? It's the biggest clock in the UK. To give you an idea of how massive it is, you see the minute hand, it's about 16 feet long. That's so big and heavy that it takes about an hour to get all the way around. That stone obelisk on the right, that's Cleopatra's Needle, made in Egypt 3,500 years ago, presented to us in 1819 as a gift for Lord Nelson's victory, defeating Napoleon at the Battle of the River Thames. Buried underneath it, a time capsule. There's coins, newspapers of the day, a few other bits and pieces. It also has pictures of the world's most beautiful women at the time. World's most beautiful women, 14 of them. I wonder who they are, buried underneath that obelisk. We'd like to wave to the people on the last bridge. It's an old tradition here on the River Thames, waving to people on the last bridge you pass through. You see one up there, give a wave. Hello? Come on, you miserable sons, give us a wave. They're not having it, are they? Maybe on the other side. Might be a bit happier on the other side. You've got more sunshine. So keep waving. Hey, hello. Hello, Captain. All right, mate? Hello. Nice to be nice in here. Hello, look. And they're waiting for us up there as well. Hello. Been up there all day waiting for us. A lovely building to the right. Shame the sun's blinding us, but that is Whitehall Court. It looks a little bit like Dracula's castle, doesn't it? something out of Disney World. That is where you'll find today the Sir Winston Churchill Wartime Office Museums. And ahead of us, folks, Tower Pier, Westminster Pier will be heading in very soon. I'll be alongside in a couple of minutes. Can you see Big Ben now?
Beloved old Westminster Krabbie.
No, you can't, idiots. Big Ben is the bell that chimes on the hour, right? What you're looking at, that is the Elizabeth clock tower. You can't see Big Ben. I've never seen Big Ben, and I've lived in London my entire life. I've only ever seen pictures of it on the internet. It's inside the clock tower. So what you're seeing is the Elizabeth clock tower. You only hear Big Ben when it's finally reinstalled, finally put back together. For the last 4 years, it has been silence while they're working on the tower. They will only play it on special occasions, Big Ben. Very, very rare, very special occasions. This includes Remembrance Sunday, the lead up to New Year's Eve, the Queen's birthday, my birthday, only real special occasions. Well, we're going to head into the pier. I'd like to thank you all very much for your kind attention. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for joining us on the boat today, coming out on the River Thames. It has been very, very quiet the last few years. It's nice to see people free and being able to do what they want finally. It's a nice feeling. It's lovely. Oh, isn't it? Nice being free. Even I'll clap for that. Freedom.
Toodaloo, my lovelies.
Safely.
Don't
So
forget
hold
to
on
hit the
tight
ring-a-ding-ding
if you're
bell,
standing at the
subscribe.
back. If you've got a
Thumbs up
seat,
button
take a seat.
if you like this video. Share
In
with all your
case there's a
friends
little
that have never been
bump
along
as we
before.
touched, alright? Safety
Toodaloo.
first on the River
Goodbye.
Thames.